Hello. It's the holiday season. It's Thursday, December 30th, one more day of this year. And I thought I would dress up a little bit. A friend of mine gave me this sweater that she knitted and kind of liked it. So I thought I would wear it today. So happy holidays, happy year to come for you. I hope that it's been a good year for you. And more importantly, whether it's been a good year or not, for me, a good year is a year that I've learned something or a lot. And this year has certainly been a huge year for me for learning. And that's the thing that's most important to me. Um, I believe that we are spiritual beings and we've chosen to be in these human experiences in these human bodies in this earth university, as they say, for certain learning opportunities. We came here with a particular curriculum in mind. And it's like if you decided to be an engineer and you went to school, let's say at MIT or something like that, where you wanted to be an engineer, you'd have to have a particular set of requirements that you came here to take care of and learn so that you can graduate to your next learning opportunity. So I think that's what we're all here to do is to we some most of the time we don't know what that curriculum is until it's really in our face. But what it comes down to mostly is to know thyself, to know yourself, to to know your truth, to align yourself with your truth, and to not defer to anyone else. And that's that's pretty much it. It means that our value and our worth are not questioned. You are worthy because you are in existence. You are a spiritual being. And in that, you are worthy of whatever it is that you want to experience and have in this lifetime and in any lifetime. And so when we come to work with that, and I see, we talk about learning. A lot of people want to learn or they want to seek, but what is really in the hard stuff is actually training yourself, not not training yourself to learn, but taking what you've learned and actually actualize it, experience it, do it, practice it, um, train your mind to stop doing what it does that makes you uncomfortable and unhappy. Train your mind to think happy thoughts. Train your mind to be creative. Train your mind to consider joy versus fear or worry. So quite often we're in a state of mind that we even know we're in. We're not even, most of us aren't conscious of the thoughts that we're having. We might be doing some mindfulness training, but a lot of times we're still unconscious even when we're trying to be mindful. So, a mindfulness is really just a practice of staying aware of what's not only our thoughts, but more importantly, what's the state of being that you're in or I'm in. Because that state of being uh, tells us, informs us on what's the quality of thinking that's happening. And so that's a really good thing to know. So this all has to do with the fact that sometimes we're living alone as part of our curriculum here in this human experience. Sometimes we're living alone by choice. We decide that we want the experience of living alone, or we need to get some solitude so we can get some time to ourselves to think about all the things I just said. Or sometimes we're alone because of the circumstances. Perhaps it's social isolation. Perhaps we've lost our partner. Perhaps we are leaving our partners, or are situations where we have to be alone. So sometimes it's a choice that we are looking forward to, and sometimes it's a choice that's kind of been foisted on us, and we're kind of not happy about that. So those are all states of being, right? Excited is a state of being, unhappy is a state of being. And so how we be with our circumstances, how we be, um, is basically informed by the thoughts that we have about all of that. So this month being December, I dedicated or devoted the whole month to this whole idea of living alone by choice, by not choice, what meaning we make about that, that there's something wrong with me, or this is only a transitional state, and I'm going to hurry, get through this as fast as I can. The state of meaning that I don't want the responsibility of living alone, all the things I have to take care of, or someone else that might say, you don't have anything to take care of because you're living alone. All of the things that it could mean to be living alone is part of what creates a state of being of peace and serenity and contentment in the practice of living alone, or angst and upset and worry and disappointment and fear. And it's all the above. The curriculum of our life, no matter if we choose it or not, is going to continue to bring us challenges, challenging our thoughts and our beliefs, our emotional state, our past life traumas. Things can come up that, a lot of times people are terrified of living alone. And what is that about? Like, why are we terrified? Um, and when we get to it, it's like, well, something terrible happened before when I was alone, perhaps in a past life or somebody else's life, or you heard a story of somebody living alone and it was a terrible, horrible thing. Or there's just something to work out. So part of that all, and then the last week we talked about um, companions, friends, families, dogs, plants, crafts, all those elements of life that as a single person who's living alone can utilize to support and empower themselves to fulfillment. So for me, fulfillment of our human spirit is what we're here to learn to do. It's what we're here to train ourselves to have. Um, and again, too often we talk about learning, and it's like, okay, if I read enough books and get the information here, then I will get it. But the truth is we actually have to be, let's say that would take us into a library as opposed to being out on the activity field and athletic field where we have to be in the game of life, where we have to actually participate and use our thinking and use our muscles and use our choice making possibilities. And it's all about choice making. It's all about choice making. Any curriculum that you go through, whether it's education or some apprenticeship or learning to cook, you're learning to take the ingredients of the situation and train yourself to put them in a way that's going to work for you. And that's training. It takes training. And the training is something I often forget myself because I think if I read enough books or write enough books or talk enough, that I will convince myself of the truth. And then that'll be easy. But no, the fact of the matter is you just really have to train yourself to do it differently. Yoda, this is my favorite. I think this is my favorite quote in the world. Yoda says, "Train yourself to let go of what you're afraid to lose." He said that in Star Wars, of course. And train yourself to let go of what you're afraid to lose, or train yourself to let go of what doesn't work, or train yourself to let go of what isn't in alignment with your highest good and your highest truth, your highest knowing, your highest contribution to the world. Um, so all of that is part of the spiritual lessons that are available to us in all areas of our life, whether it's work or relationships or activities and creativities, or in this case, we're talking specifically about living alone. So that's what I want to talk about today is what are the spiritual lessons that are available to us by living alone. By the way, I want to mention, if you don't know this already, there's a boot camp that I put together. It's called Inward Bound Boot Camp for Self-Transformation. The link is below. And it's a 20 video, 4-week boot camp. You can do it as fast as you want to. Each of the videos is only about 10 minutes at the most. It's free and it can be really supportive to you to help you through this process, especially in training yourself to see yourself differently. Train yourself to look at the curriculum you might be in that's bringing you certain challenges. And one of those challenges might be right now you're living alone. So take a look at that. The links are down below if you're interested. Uh, so some of the spiritual lessons, and for those of you who are watching and participating, if you want to, you can either add them to the chat here, or later if you are watching the recording, leave a comment below of what the spiritual lessons are you have experienced or are training yourself to be with through your own situation with living alone. I'd love to hear, and I think it would be valuable for other people to hear too. So, just a little bit of history if you haven't watched the other three videos of these lives of living alone. I've lived alone the majority of my life, my adult life. I've been married a couple of times. I've been in long relationships a couple of times, but some of those times I was living um, in long distance relationships. So I just lived apart from my husband for a long time, and also just long distance relationships. So I have a lot of experience with living alone, and part of that was being terrified and resisting and couldn't wait for the opportunity to get out of living alone, like jump into partnership. And that's what happens for a lot of people, is that we're afraid to live alone, and so we get into relationships and partnerships that aren't necessarily good for us. We're just trying to avoid being alone because we're afraid. So one of the biggest, hi Marge, um, one of the biggest lessons I think in living alone is learning to not be afraid, learning that you're safe with yourself, learning to trust yourself, that you can trust yourself, that you're safe with you. That's sometimes a big lesson. It's a lesson of not being afraid of living alone, in a sense that, again, what we make it mean is that if I live alone, that means nobody wants me, that means I'm unlovable, that means something's terrible is going to happen to me. Or it doesn't, that sense of, especially for me as a woman, I would say, if I'm living alone, nobody, and I become self-reliant. This was a big interpretation I had. If I'm self-reliant and I am competent on my own, what man is going to want me? So that was a diminishing perspective, but that was an orientation that I held for a very long time. My worthiness was on a line. Like, don't don't become, in a sense, valuable and um, self-reliant, because that would make you less appealing to a man. So I know that really sucks to hear that, but that was something that was really true for me. But the circumstances were that I continued to have to live alone for whatever reasons. And so I learned to be competent, and I learned to be self-reliant. And I realized that that was one of the big requirements. Hi, Grace. Come on over here, Grace. Come here, Grace. That learning self-reliance was one of the elements of my curriculum that was really, really important. This is Gracie. If you haven't met Gracie yet, she's been with me for about 12 years, and she certainly is one of the many gifts of my life that makes living alone a wonderful experience, because she's with me 24/7 pretty much, except when she's not. I forget what I was saying. What were we saying, Grace? Grace wants to know what we're saying. So the fear of living alone, the fear of becoming self-reliant, and real